Okay, wonderful. Good morning, everyone. PhD Fernando Coach here. And here I have the great honor to interview my ex-client and now friend. I'm happy to see my friend Laura Correa, that she was born in the US and she had a wonderful experience coming here to Brazil. She came here to Brazil 2 times in 2021 and now in August 2023. And she will be very happy to share some ahas, some outcomes, and some really wonderful experiences that she had here. So welcome here, Laura, with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Wonderful. So would you summarize the main reason that brought you here to Brazil twice?
Mainly put, I've been through a lot in my life, and I found that conventional methods in my area aren't really supporting my needs for healing or empowering me in the sense. So I feel like in America, I'm on a hamster wheel when it comes to my healing journey, and it's very desensitized and depersonalized. And so I was looking for something that was more holistic, wholesome, integrated, and effective. Plainly put.
Wonderful. So, um, which main outcomes did you get as a result of this search that you were doing here?
Okay, so do you want me to start with the 2021 visit?
Yes, if you
Okay.
want to summarize, that's
I'll
fine.
summarize real quick. So basically, I had met with the Yawanawa tribe, and I had done a retreat there that helped me develop realization and do some ancestral healing on my mother's lineage. Because prior to the visit, my mom had been experiencing significant health problems where she had almost died a few times. And that experience shook me to my core because I felt disempowered in a way to help her and assist her in this process, because in our culture, it's very fast food like in terms of healthcare and the dying process. So I needed something more natural and more not community oriented, but more time tested. Let's put it that way. And so with the Yawanawa, just the realizations I developed there helped me embark on a healing journey through my mother's lineage. And it helped to have conversations with my mom during the 2 years from that retreat to her death, and helped me facilitate her dying process in a way that was nurturing, wholesome. And you also helped with that, as well as Louisa, when she was actually in hospice care, which was amazing. So I'm so thankful for that. But she was able to have the most ideal transition that you can imagine. So she passed with a smile on her face. I was on the phone with her, talking to her. She was at complete peace. She was aware, because when she was on the phone, she was squeezing her hand and her eyelids were fluttering, which when she was not on the phone with me, that wasn't happening. So she was aware that I was talking with her. And when she took her final breath, she just took a breath in and then breathed out and had a smile on her face. And it was complete peace. And so I couldn't have asked for a better transition for my mother ever. Like, she, may not have been a wealthy woman, but she died like royalty. Like, that's how I felt, like, in my heart. So I was so thankful for that experience and all the realizations that happened during the experience with the Yawanawa that helped me to have the conversations and find out things about my lineage that I could start on my own healing journey to repair, because unconsciously we carry these patterns without realizing it. So having the realizations I had with the Yawanawa, I could start having conversations about my family lineage with my mom and find out those stories and find out all those things, and then start to inquire within of how those patterns affected me in my daily life. So that was an amazing experience. And then our experience together when we went up to, I don't know it in Brazil, but I think it's Witches Mountain. That was my ceremony to help bring closure to certain things in my life that I was dealing with that were kind of stressful. And then in addition, it was also a ritual of empowerment. So I felt very empowered and secure and confident once I left Brazil to embark on some of the challenges I had to face the following years. And then this upcoming trip, so with Yawanawa this time, it was a women's retreat. It was completely all women and led by women. So it was very beautiful. And there were women from all around the world with different experiences and things to bring to the experience. That was amazing. And in that experience, I had an open mind and an open heart, heart, in order to see what the experience could show me. And I came up with some really distinct realizations in that experience that had changed my life moving forward. So the first realization was in witnessing the tribal people and their interactions, I noticed how the interactions were drastically different than Western society. Even though they've infused a lot of our qualities with technology and some of the things, they're also very true to their roots. And one of the things I noticed is their lack of technology use in a whole sense. Like they use it to run their retreats and things like that, but they do it in a very conscious way. And notice that in our Western society, we're very beholden to technology to the point that we're giving it to infants and children without really understanding the repercussions that it has on their development and in society as a whole. So what I noticed was the adults and the children are very present with each other. So when there's interactions, it's complete focus and presence. There's no cell phone being looked at. There's no, child being distracted with technology in order to keep them busy so the adults can do their things. Typically, the adults include the children in whatever they're doing as a way to kind of, teach them as well as spend time with them and be present. But there was so many realizations. One thing we were doing was this weaving class that we were weaving like fans, and people were weaving baskets and things like that. And there was a mother and daughter, and I noticed the daughter, she probably was maybe 7 or 8 years old, and she was trying to weave, which, to be completely honest, I think it's a very complicated process, even for grown-ups, because it looks simple because it's a pattern, but to get it started and to keep the form and shape, you have to really be intentional with how you weave, and it's very complicated. And so I noticed this little girl trying really hard, and she was so frustrated to tears, but she was so wanting to learn this. Like she was just, her heart was so into it, and she was crying, and the mom had patience with her, and she would show her, and then the girl would try it. And I noticed how there was this dynamic of acceptance of failure, but also like encouragement in order to keep trying. So in our Western world, we tend to be very judgmental on failure. And if anyone does anything wrong, everyone's looking at them with a microscope and casting judgment or pointing out that they're doing something wrong. And the mother just gave her daughter space to keep trying and to keep failing until she figured it out. And I thought that was a beautiful lesson. And I feel like as a teacher myself, working with young people, that our curriculum is so driven and so enforces convergent thinking. So everyone has to get a specific answer right a certain way, whereas it doesn't encourage divergent thinking or in that result. It's always trying to come to this common answer. And so oftentimes when children get things wrong, they're trying to please adults around them. And then when they get something wrong, it feels like judgment on them, or that they're not pleasing the adult that they care about, therefore they're not going to receive the love or care back. So it's weird. So like in this context, the girl kept trying. She knew she was loved and she was very frustrated, but she was pushing through and trying to meet that goal without an adult having to keep on her to do it, you know? So I noticed that lesson. And then to get to the technology piece, I had a realization of the future of technology, and it looks pretty dark. I'm going to be completely honest, because once I had this realization, I started observing in my natural environment, and it's lining up with this realization. So I invite people, if I share this realization, to start looking in your life to see how this is also being played out in a certain way in your everyday life. So in my realization, I had noticed how technology is very enticing and addictive, completely addictive. Like it literally works on the dopamine cycle that keeps firing. And when we use this technology, whether it's social media or video games or whatever, it literally works on that dopamine, and it's an addiction cycle. So once we get addicted to this technology, so it's very enticing, it's beautiful, it's so awesome, we get addicted, right? And then we get addicted to the point where we start distancing ourselves from people around us because we're so absorbed in this technology that's where the breakdown in our community structure is happening. And we're given a false sense of community through social media. And I'm going to be completely honest. I'm maybe call me old fashioned, but I think there's merit to experiencing human connection in real time and with a real person in front of you. And we're so used to emails, texts, whatever, FaceTimes, that we feel like we're connecting and it's not a true connection, which is leaving us feeling empty and wanting more, which then sends us back into that technology loop of wanting that connection. So then we're seeking this technology to fill that void when it's not being fulfilled in real time and in real life. So we get addicted. We then become completely reliant on this technology to do everything for us. And then the third phase is when you're completely dependent, you forget how to do things on your own. So the technology starts to replace that knowledge and the value of transferring knowledge from human to human. And if anything, that's more powerful and meaningful than a technological device. And I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for that, but try studying foreign language on a device versus in real life with real people. Which one's going to help you learn faster? Learning language with real people, because if you think about it, it's in a socio-cultural context, which is how our brains are wired, through our ancestry, so in our genetics. And so this technology is brand new for us and our people. So we're still experimenting, and we're giving these powerful devices to children without really understanding the implications moving forward on how it's shaping their brains through child development, how it's forming illusions in their mind of what's real and what's not real, and things like that. So, and also disconnecting. And if you look at the statistics, anxiety and depression are through the roof, at least in America. I can't speak for other countries, but it's through the roof, to the point where we're in a mental health crisis. And I feel a lot of that has to do with the lack of human connection, because we're so absorbed in our devices. And in watching the Yamanawa, because they're not absorbed in their devices, and everyone's connected within each other, and everyone helps each other out, and everyone's just, it's a very loving community, that there's zero depression, there's zero anxiety that I witness with those people. And it's like, as soon as I'm back into the Western world and in the airport, I see all the anxiety, I see all the depression, I see all the things. So that experience really helps me to reflect upon experiences in my own life now that I'm in my everyday life of how technology is affecting things. So moving forward, so once we become addicted, completely reliant on the technology, and we start to forget how to transmit information and how to do things, then we become completely disconnected from each other. So in the trajectory we're on, humans are going to be completely isolated from each other. And the technology is going to be so integrated in who we are that it will know exactly who we love and how much we love them. And it's going to put a price on communication, because we as human beings will still have a desire to communicate with one another. So eventually, when you're going to want to communicate with people, you're going to have to pay a premium to, like, if they know that this is your spouse or whatever, you're going to have to pay a higher price to communicate with them, versus just a coworker or whatever. And eventually I know this sounds horrible, but we're going to become slaves to the system if we don't change. And then I asked myself, I said, well, how do we fix this? Because it's so integrated. I mean, we have ATMs, we have self-checkout. There's grocery stores that are completely going AI and unmanned. Everything, we shop online, so everything's delivered to our door. So these are different phases of human disconnection that we're experiencing. And it's so integrated at this point, and it feels like this huge ship that's on its path. And how do we change course? You know, it's really hard to change course on a ship in an instant. So I asked myself, I said, well, how do we change this? And the answer from within surfaced, and it said, more human connection. The more we connect as human beings, the more we're going to see the value in those connections. And we will not be led down the path of using technology to connect with humans, because there's nothing like it. Just like a virtual hug is not the same as a real life hug, right? So we have to start really being mindful of our presence in everyday life. We have to be mindful of making those connections. So in my integration experience from that retreat, I'm very intentional of creating human connection. So in the parking lot, there was this elderly lady, and she, usually with elderly people, they're invisible. And I was just looking at her and smiling. And then she smiled back to me and she's like, hello. And I was like, hello. And we struck up a very short conversation. But that small interaction that took like 30 seconds just brightened that lady's demeanor, because she was seen and she had a human just, sharing a little bit of sunshine, and it's completely free. So we don't have to pay for it. So imagine having to pay a premium or service to communicate with other people, right? Here, you can communicate with people completely for free, and it's way better. So yeah, so that was one experience. And I know I've been talking a lot, so I'm sure you have some questions.
I appreciate very much what you shared here, and it doesn't sound like something impossible, right? In fact, it sounds quite reasonable. If you ask, for instance, Peter Diamond is one of those people who has been working with Tony Robbins as well, and he even said that in just 5 to 10 years, we're going to have not only goggles with chips in that. There are already some, but also people would like to have implants in their brains of chips already connected to the internet, and there are even some experiments performed by some industries about that. So the thing there is that many people are about to become half human, half machine. And what you said is exactly aligned with that. So what you said is exactly aligned with the fact, with the trend that is already here. It's already among us. So it doesn't sound something impossible. In fact, it sounds like something quite probable. And let me share with other people here watching this video that Surjavan also warned about a future that would be really challenging for most people. except for those who practice, who perform some the right ancient practices, especially indigenous practices. So I don't want to get into more details about this. I just share this warning because it's really important to share. And this is quite aligned with what you said, because ancient practices allows us to be human and to express our humanness and our divinity, right? That we have as human beings, to interact with others and to interact even with ourselves, because we all have an amazing machine here. The thing is that who knows how to use it? Where's the user manual, right? So simple as that. So why are we looking already for solutions outside if we have a solution inside? We just have to learn how to use this wonderful machine that we have here. And well, one of those things that we have to learn is to stay protected, purify the Corson crystals. In this regard, that I did with Surjan was fantastic. And would you like to share with us, Laura, and how you felt the energy from a spiritual teacher, a living spiritual teacher, Sujavan, and then you can share something similar with India?
Okay, absolutely. So I had the pleasure of meeting Sir Javan Solar in Brazil, and it was very synchronistic, which made it even more magical. So he happened to be in Florianopolis around the same time that I was there. And so Fernando communicated with him and we were able to meet with him. And he has an incredible aura and presence that just exudes love, and also I felt safe in his presence, and I felt so welcome, and he just has a very beautiful energy about him, and he's very humorous and just vibrant as a human being. And so in our meeting with him, it was just very mind-blowing. Like, I was just in awe for probably 2 days afterwards, because I had not expected it to happen so fast. And he was just a very beautiful, down-to-earth, humble human being, but very intelligent and very wise and very spiritually connected. So it was incredible to have that experience. And in his crystal course, it was very comprehensive, and there was so much information that was helpful and useful. And I just loved his energy as a teacher, because I felt the how do I say it, the relationship he has with his students and the respect that's there from teacher to student, and how I was talking about the importance of transmitting information from human to human and the importance of that. He's a very intelligent, I don't want to say storyteller, but he infuses stories and fun, how do I say it, fun information with the information he's teaching. So he keeps his audience engaged. And it was an amazing experience. I really enjoyed that course and was so thankful that I was able to participate. And with the dance therapy, wow, that was a journey. It was so beautiful, because I felt like we did the teaching with the crystals, and it was very like, paying attention, sitting, listening, taking information in, and then we were able to take information in through movements. So there were so many teachings that I got within that experience of just listening to music and allowing the experience to unfold the way it did. And I got to connect with so many people within his community, and everybody there was so welcoming, so loving. I felt like I was, quote unquote, part of the family without even introducing myself to people. Like, I was just so embraced with love and connection, human connection, which tied in with what I learned at the Yawanawa retreat and the beauty of that. And yeah, it was beautiful. It was a wonderful experience. Yeah.
Wonderful. So thank you very much for sharing, because not everyone is ready to meet a living teacher, right? So many follow a dead teacher, And when he died, they said, "Oh, I'm so sad that he died." Well, but when he's living, that's the aim, right? Because a living teacher confronts you. Living teacher already says, "Okay, you're doing this. Why are you doing this? Are you sure
Mhm.
this is the right way?" So he even confronted me and say, "Okay, this is the last time I will receive you with with no foursome. Now what I did, I built my foursome, right?" So he confronted me and said, "Okay," I say, "Okay, yes, I will build my foursome." So I did that, and now we had just a meeting. So you also visited India. So for some people who don't know India, how can you describe her and her talent and how it works?
Okay, so as a person who's been raised in the Western world, and I'm very well versed with alternative health in America, I have not encountered a healer quite like her in the sense that, um, first of all, she's 79, turning 80, and she looks like she's in her 40s. So let's start there. So she practices what she preaches, and she looks very good. And she's sharp as a whip. Like she literally, her mind is so sharp and intelligent for that age. Like I was blown away by that. She had a very beautiful sense of humor, very vibrant in spirit, very full of joy. Um, and then going into the treatment, she just, did her scan of me. And this is what blew me away. And I don't want to go into details about, health situations, but she nailed my ancestral health issues like with such precision without me saying anything to her. So she knew the health problems that were in my family line on my mother's and father's side, and even specifically said that that's what snapped me into reality of changing my life. So India, as a healer, the lesson I learned from her is that healing, a lot of us in the Western world, we've been conditioned to go to a doctor, they give us a pill, it treats a symptom, we think we're healed, and we move on. And then eventually that symptom is masked because basically when we develop symptoms, they're telling us of a deeper issue that's not being resolved. Okay. So, like, if someone has heartburn, they take a pill, it treats the heartburn, but it doesn't treat the reason why they have the heartburn. So, in my conditioning, when I went to her, I thought, okay, she's going to tell me to do things and then I'm going to do it. And then, you know, I'll take her herbs and then I'll move on with my life and then I'll be healed and I can live like whatever. Well, what she taught me is that healing, first of all, starts within, starts with me. And yes, she gave the scan. She told me what the trajectory was if I don't change my habits, my lifestyle habits. And then she gave me a protocol to follow to help detox all the stuff out of my system in order to stop that trajectory and start a new one of a healthier life and more vibrant life. And so she taught me to heal myself in the sense that I need to change. And I was expecting that I would just go there, get her treatment, be done, and move on. And then I could still live the way I was living with my diet and lifestyle habits. But she showed me that the healer is within, and that's my job, not hers. She gave me the information and she gave me the tools, but now I have to go home and apply those things. And so I started the detox in Brazil and I had more energy. I felt better. I lost my cravings. I still was drinking coffee then. And I was noticing the effects of caffeine because once you start detoxing, your body starts running more efficiently. And things like caffeine, you become more sensitive to it because your body's not clogged up with other things. So I started noticing how I was feeling after I was drinking coffee. And I was like, you know what, when I get back to the States, I think I'm going to give up coffee because my body doesn't feel as good after drinking it. So I started the detox, and then we had the conversation that when I was traveling between Brazil and the United States, that I had like a grace period in order to take a break from the plan because travel is going to be hectic and it's hard to follow through with everything. So I did the grace period, and then, oh my goodness, I was like hit with a truck coming back because my body already started detoxing, and then I started introducing all this garbage into it, and then I didn't feel good afterwards. So since then, I've been following through with eating clean, following through with her protocol, and taking the herbs and the things as prescribed. And I had to get through that period of feeling yucky, which involved joint and muscle pain and headaches and digestive issues. So sorry, I have a bug in my house. So I felt all those things, and like I felt horrible. Like it just hit me like a truck, and I had to literally like restart the program to feel better again. And I actually feel so much better today since I've cleaned all that stuff out of me. But I learned the lesson that I've been addicted to food in a way that's unhealthy, and it is not good for me. And I realized how it's not good for me with how I'm feeling. So yeah, it's been a beautiful experience. I really appreciate her presence and her willingness to share with me her knowledge in order to get me back on the healing track. And here's the clincher, okay? I've been encountering multiple situations where food is in my presence that I would normally be like, "Ooh, I'd love to have that, like this cupcake here," or whatever, unhealthy food or whatever, processed food. And I don't even have a desire to even taste it. And even the thought of tasting it um is so unappealing to me right now because I feel so much better. And that's what she reassured me when I was in the program, because she's like, "Okay, Laura, you're going to have to do A, B, C, and D." And I'm like, "But do I have to do this for the rest of my life? Like, what if I'm in a situation where I might encounter these foods and I really want to have it? Like, am I not supposed to have this for the rest of my life?" And I was, shocked by that. And she's like, "Don't worry." She's like, "Once you get on this plan, the situation, you're not going to want that stuff anymore." And I was like, "Okay, we'll see." Sure enough, I'm like, "Oh, cupcakes? Ew, gross." Like, I know I'm going to feel worse after eating that than the 2 seconds of pleasure I might have eating it. And even thinking about eating it isn't pleasurable anymore. So,
Oh, that's really, really life-changing. So for those who don't understand, you just go to India and she just looks at you, and in just 15 or to 20 minutes, she tells what you have in your body, in your stomach, in your liver, in your lungs, in your heart, in your brain, which thoughts you have there, which is your historical for of the most significant events that you had, and how they have been affecting you, and which are the consequences for the future, and then which are the main issues, and then how to solve them. So for those who don't understand, it's like going to an MRI, to a scanner, but in person. And in just 15 minutes, she tells you all the story and where it's origin, if it comes from your father, from your mother, and how. The most important thing is how to solve that. And she gives you the recipe, but she doesn't do your work. You have to do your work, right?
yes.
So for some people who say, "Oh, she's going to fix me," no, she's not a fixer. She's a shaman. She's a very talented healer. In fact, what I used to call her is, I call her my doctor shaman, right? Because she is like a doctor. Instead
Yes.
of going to any doctor, you just pay less than a consultation in a doctor, and you get the results of a whole clinical study. Even what is going to happen to you if you continue to live that lifestyle that you are living. So if someone told me about Ainda and how she works, I wouldn't believe that. But fortunately, my intuition took me to that to know her some time ago, and I'm very happy to know her, and I'm very happy that you came here, and we went together to visit to India.
Yeah, she's incredible. I was so just in awe of her knowledge and ability to just within a short amount of time, she told me my whole family history of health. It was crazy. And it was not just like siblings or anything. It was like grandparents, great grandparents, and all that. Like she knew that those problems that persisted. And so when I heard that, I knew she meant business with her protocol. And I was like, I really need to follow this. I can't just like say, okay, I'm going to do it. And then, not do it. Like I had to really stick to it. And I'm so thankful I had that experience with her because I believe she's moving farther away from where you're at, right? So I was able to have that meeting with her. I had planned to see her the last time, but things didn't work out at that time. And I think it was perfect timing, to be completely honest, to see her this time.
When the student is ready, the teacher appears, right? The
Absolutely.
teacher shows up. Yes. Wonderful, Laura. So, do you have any final comment or final message for those people who are watching this and they may have a doubt about, oh, Brazil is too far away. I don't know if it's worth visiting Fernando for some kind of activities or Surjavan or India. What's your message for those people?
I would say take the leap. It's well worth it. I felt like the whole intention was to go to the Yawanawa retreat to get my teachings and then just rest and integrate in Brazil. But then that turned into a whole retreat experience in itself because we haven't even talked about all the other people or our experiences with, which is mountain and drumming and ceremony and things like that. And so if you choose to visit Brazil, you're going to be in for a huge treat. Like it was just so amazing. I felt so wrapped in love by all the healers that even we didn't mention, like Molbeck, Shantabi, Lexim, Andre, like all those people that, we were able to visit, including Fernando himself as well, who's the central piece to all that. They all have really incredible gifts to share, and it's just amazing, and it's so well worth the visit. It's so well worth all the hassle that travel brings. And I could not see myself getting a similar experience here in the United States. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm very well versed in the alternative health community, and I've encountered many amazing people in the healing journey, but there's a special experience with all these healers from Brazil because they just have their own way of delivering their gift, and it's just so incredible. It's so incredible and heart-centered and loving and very authentic and humble and incredible. So I'm so thankful. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. I'm very happy that you share all this experience. Thank you for your time, for your dedication. I know that you have many, many things on the go, and you decided to offer your time, to donate your time and share the gifts that you got here. Now you have your backpack full of jewels, of crystals, protection stones, and wonderful things for the next step, okay?
Yes, thank you so much, Fernando, for everything. And I just have to say, if you are lucky enough to work with Fernando, like take full advantage of everything that he offers because he brings such wisdom and love and just like, I don't know how to say, experience and everything into his coaching. And I've trusted him with my family and my friends, and I'm so pleased with our experience together. So thank you so much, Fernando, for everything.
Thank you, Laura. I'm very happy for this. And thank you for all those wonderful souls who are watching this video. I would like to know your biggest takeaways here in the comments below. So thank you, Laura. Have a wonderful weekend there.
Thank you.
Stay blessed. Bye bye.